So if you want a child on either side of you, then so the mourners are Mark, remember it differently.
Really?
There's only one building at the cemetery you drive through, and this is this one.
Really?
It probably says Progressive Order of the West.
It's easy to miss. There's so much traffic on the road.
Try it. No. Martin, can you get the podium?
He was one step ahead of me. Testing.
Have you been to the cemetery? Yeah. Practically sold out. Yes. Right. When it was founded, I doubt that these industrial facilities were surrounded. It was probably just wide open. Expensive town. We're approaching the Des Moines River. There were settlements on the other side of the river. Big Jewish community here. The first part of the 20th century was inside Chicago. Axel Street and to the west, all the way to Boston. Oak Park River Forest was quite Jewish community that anyone against.
Here's the thing, the child normally brings original material. So what I'd recommend is you get on the right side.
Okay. So, let's follow. Right next to
I have a cousin's son.
And now he was going to be a pallbearer, but normally a mourner's not a pallbearer. Can he be a pallbearer? Okay. I'm totally flexible, so I don't want to go against what the rabbi wants. So. And then. Sarah's Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the service. Can everyone turn their cell phones to silent at this time?
Your father using the car?
Yeah.
Stay there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask everyone to be very careful of the stones. The stones that are leaning could possibly fall. Do not go near them. Families ask that the following act as pallbearers. Joshua, Ethan, Zachary, Samuel, and Norman Eleazar, and David Allen. If you'll all go up to the hearse at this time, please. If I could ask everyone to make your way into the tent. The mourners will be sitting up front, including the children of Susan. Spouses, please sit directly behind your family. Also, can I ask everyone, if you're near the camera, the iPad in the back, to please not be in front of it.
That's you, Mom. That's you. You're the...
Okay. If anybody needs a program, please raise your hand. The funeral service is going to be conducted by Rabbi David Wolkenfeld.
We're going to lower the casket, and then the mourners will will tear garments as an expression of grief, and then we'll...
Guys, I need you to move, please. want the cover on?
We'll do that later.
You can make your way under the tent if you want. Please don't get near that stone, though.
I'm gonna start this way, and you can say that we'll have a lesson this afternoon.
So there are three central ideas that Jewish tradition teaches us about death and burial and mourning that animate what we are here to do together this morning. The first is the belief that there is a piece of us that endures and survives and lives on after our bodies die. That there is some piece of us, a soul and a shema, that lives on and continues to love those whom we loved while we were alive on earth, and is maybe even present at the funeral, is listening to our words, and is present as the body is returned and mourned. And that's a belief that animates what we do today. The belief as well that those who shape us continue to impact the world through our actions, and so by being inspired, by recalling the values and the deeds of worthy people, we're inspired to do good things, and in that way they continue to impact the world. And the final belief that really animates what we do today is the understanding that the body that houses the soul, that sustains us, that we inhabit, is worthy of being laid to rest in a loving way by people who cared about the person. And that's also what we're here to do. So we're going to hear from people who knew and loved Barry, and we're going to say our farewell to him as well, and then we're going to return him with love and care to his final resting place. I'd like to ask at this point that Barry's brother Mark come and say a few words.
Alright, so I don't know if I'll be able to do this without crying, but so Barry was a person with a kind heart and a great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. He was very smart and opinionated, as am I. We would argue, as brothers tend to do, but for us, it was more of a support. We would fight, but then after the fight, it would be as if nothing had ever happened. No hard feelings ever lingered. We were two brothers who cared deeply for one another. But I like to argue. A lot. When I visited him in the hospital, he told me that he was afraid he had not been a good brother to me. I told him he was wrong. He was a very good brother to me. We were always in touch, no matter where we moved to. We never lost contact. If something important would ever arise in our lives, we would always let the other know right away. We were brothers who felt deeply for one another, and we never forgot that. Gary, you were a great brother to me. I truly believe that, and I will miss you dearly. And who else will I be able to argue with just for fun?
This is a letter to Barry. Where do I begin telling our story over the last 25 years? I can't believe it's been so long since we took the leap to join our families. But here we are today with all of our collective children, some present in body and others in spirit, to send you on your way. Rabbi Avi Alpert, our rabbi in Tucson, said that we must move on to another plane of existence when our bodies can't support us anymore. And he told you not to be afraid. He helped you to visualize a peaceful transition. I like to think that this is what has happened. As our friend Marita just told me the other day about her husband Dick, who passed about a year ago, a dear friend of yours. She said, Dick's just in the other room. So you are too, now just in the other room. It was truly a blessing that all of our children were able to come to visit with you in Tucson when you were still alert and able to communicate with them. And while you were sleeping, preserving your little bit of strength for your journey, Ethan, Zach, Sam, David, Mark, Wassan, and Nadine were able to say their goodbyes on the phone, and I know you were listening. You waited until all the girls had gone home to begin your long 3-day sleep of preparation. Josh remained in your ear, so to speak, going on as usual, making his phone calls and having business meetings within earshot of you. I think that was comforting, knowing that he was there to take care of me. After all, when Josh arrived, the first thing he told me was that he was staying until I went home with him, and so he did. You were and always will be my best friend. You raised me up and saved my soul when I was at my lowest despair. You gave me support and encouragement to be my best self as a mother, wife, grandmother, and special educator. You will always be with me, and I with you. When you were in the hospital in the depths of fevers and confusion from the chemotherapy, you looked up once and complained, "Why didn't you bring me the Tootsie Rolls?" Maybe it was the power of suggestion, or maybe something of a higher nature that you imagined after Rabbi Avi told you that sometimes people visualize their loved ones who've passed on when they're getting close. You know it was always your mom, aka Evie and Bubby, who had the Tootsie Rolls, not me. Now you can enjoy her Tootsie Rolls and Silver Bells, and don't forget the kugel, but make sure you save some for later. What will I say next time I'm on FaceTime with Declan and he asks, "Where's Zadie?" I guess I'll tell him, "Zadie's in the other room. You'll see him later." And when I visit with Max, I don't know how to explain to an 8-year-old boy where you are, but I'll have some time now to find just the right words. I'm counting on you to help me with this one. On your last days, hours, and moments, I sat with you, talked with you, sang to you. I swear at one point I heard you humming. I watched your rosy cheeks turn pale, the breath cease coming from your mouth, and the rise and fall of your belly lay still. I watched you for hours afterward while waiting for the nurse and transport to come. I was looking at a shell that really wasn't you anymore, and I knew that you had moved on. You left me way too soon, who knows why. I'm glad and relieved that you were not in pain and had the 10 days to be back at home. Throughout that time, Banana stood vigil and kept watch over you too. So now we're all here to see you off. We'll toast a l'chaim to you, share favorite photos, and tell tales, some I'm sure to be spicy, and celebrate your life. Until we meet again, know that your body is resting beside your grandfather. I will love and miss you always. For the first time in my life, I'll be on my own, scaring me, and it may take some time, but you know I'll be all right. We've always had strength enough for the two of us, and I know our children and grandchildren will see me through. Your buddies.
Barry told me recently that when he was a kid, he wanted to grow up to be a doctor, but he found the path blocked by learning disabilities that at the time were not well treated or even diagnosed. I remember him telling me a long time ago that he just barely got his GPA up high enough at the last minute to graduate from North Park College, just up the road from here. One of his favorite sayings was always, "What do you call the guy or gal who graduates last in their class in medical school?" Thank you. Barry continued to persevere in his quest to join the healing arts and earned the right to be called doctor by graduating from Palmer College of Chiropractic and setting up practice in Skokie and West Rogers Park. He married a nice Jewish girl, Gail, with whom he fathered 2 girls, Becky and Sarah. And off he went to build his adult life in the community that raised him. Only, as things turned out, this was not to be the beginning of Barry's happily ever after story. Instead, it was to be the start of a period marked more by struggle, pain, and disappointment. Within about 15 years, Barry's career as a chiropractor came to an end, and his marriage with Gail was effectively over. But in those dark days, Barry discovered his true calling in life. He met my mother, Susan. And he decided he was going to love her unconditionally and dedicate himself to being her partner and protector in life. A lifelong special ed teacher, Susan appreciated Barry's keen intellect, and she saw struggle, but not failure, in the challenges he encountered. She appreciated his courage in facing the world and drew strength from the love he showed her not to mention his tendency to leap to her defense, often quite vociferously, whenever anything threatened. Of course, a complete reflection on Barry's life must acknowledge that he could also bark at those closest to him. I sometimes wondered why he did that, and I even felt angry at him, especially when he directed it at my mom. Yet, I never for a second questioned Barry's allegiances, and I knew at every second that he would give every ounce of his strength to protect me, my mother, and my sisters. Whatever his limitations in life may have been, Barry found in his role as husband to Susan, her lover and protector, something he could do naturally and with the deepest conviction, as the best in the world. Barry was blessed to be able to do that for 25 plus years, including his last weeks while fighting cancer in the hospital and at home. I'll conclude by sharing with you the 3 things that I most appreciated about Barry. I wrote these down last week and was fortunate to be able to share them with him last Wednesday. I was afraid I might not be able to because by then his strength was almost gone. But he perked up just enough, which was 1 notch above deep snore, and I read this to him. Barry, yesterday morning while I was getting ready for the day in my hotel room, my mind landed on a question that yielded some answers I want to share with you. The question was, what do I appreciate most about Barry? Here are the answers. Number 1, how you made Susan the center of your world. You accepted her as she is and invested your whole self in being her partner in life. You've never been the smartest, funniest, or even the nicest husband, though to be fair, you do have 2 brain cells. You know how to laugh with people, and even at your loudest and saltiest, you've always exuded love in everything. Where it counts, you've come through with flying colors. To me, you've set an example I will never forget. Number 2, how you've accepted both fortunes and misfortunes that have come to you in life. I never heard you complain as though the world or someone has done you wrong and you deserve better. If you did, well, I have selective memory. When at times it was hard for you to find work, or the job you could get required long hours, lots of driving, and lower pay than you may have hoped, you took it with grace, and you did it with honor. And third, your appreciation of people for who they are and what they do. This, despite the fact that one of your favorite lines was, "That's the problem with the world, all the people in it." But I know that was all just bluster. You would also say, "Josh, I don't care where you go to school or what you study. The important thing is to learn a trade and be productive. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber." This is not the same as having low standards or low expectations. It is simply an acknowledgement that everyone, no matter who they are or what they do, is deserving of dignity and respect. And I caught you in the act, too many times to count, of noticing and appreciating what someone else was doing, to know that you watch, you care, and you take joy in the simple act of people exercising their talents, no matter how basic or advanced they may be. Barry, I share all of this with you so that you know, in no uncertain terms, that the totality of your life, and especially including, perhaps surprisingly, the last week, has been seen, it's made profound impact, and it will continue to bring pleasure, inspiration, and good forever.
I think I just want to add an observation, because we've heard very moving remarks from people who knew Barry well and loved him for many years. And I want to tell you how moved and how really striking it is the way this family has come together, in which stepchildren and biological children and half-siblings and just everyone is united in love and care for one another. And that's obviously not a coincidence. That obviously is the result of the way Susan and Barry built their family and the way they treated their children and one another's children. And that's a reflection of the love they had for each other and the type of people that you are and that Barry was. And I'm just really overwhelmed, looking over the, discussing who's tearing, who's wearing a ribbon, who's a mourner, it's like, everyone's a mourner. We're all family. Everyone's a child. And I understand that that's how he lived. He treated everyone. You were grandparents to everyone, and without discrimination. And that's who he was. We find ourselves in the Jewish calendar in between Sukkot and Parshat Breshit, the week in which we begin the Torah anew. This is a very happy time in the Jewish calendar. We tone down our overt mourning somewhat at this date in the Jewish calendar, but it's also very fitting that Barry passed away in the final days of Sukkot and that he's being laid to rest just a few hours before this first Shabbat of the new Torah cycle. The Holiday of Sukkot is a holiday in which we break down barriers. We leave the shells and the walls of our home and we live in enclosures that are not quite enclosures. The Talmud says, Kol Yisrael ro'im leishev b'sukkah achat, that every Jewish person could really fit inside one giant sukkah. And I don't know, how could you have a sukkah that could fit millions of people? But with enough love, you could fit, right? And that's the family you built. You built a sukkah that everyone could fit inside. And that was Barry's comment as he was in hospice care. That he's shared the sentiment that he feels like the luckiest man in the world because he was surrounded by his children. And to know that he was living his last days surrounded by people he loved and that his children were with him, and that defined, another person might have complained and might have been expressed anger at the unfairness of his being taken too soon, but he felt luck and just privilege at having loved well and having known that love was reciprocated by so many. And the other line that he shared, right, the thing that is getting me through this is having Susan by my side. And that was who he was, right? That's how he lived. That's everyone dwelling in one sukkah. And just tomorrow in synagogues all around the world, when we hear the opening chapters of the Torah, we'll hear how one of the most definitional acts of a human being is to give names to the things that we experience in the world. That's what the first people did. God brings all creation before Adam, and he gives everyone a name, and then until he finds Chava, and so this one is going to be my partner. And that was Barry's singular insight, as Josh said, that he was going to devote himself to making his wife happy, and that brought you to Tucson, where you could breathe better, and that was I don't think that was a selfless act. I think that made him happy, and I think that brought him a lot of joy, and clearly it did. But the names that we give things define what they are. And Josh shared with me that I think I can share this now. I don't think it's a secret anymore, but that Zadia5 was his internet password, right? So hopefully you've changed right now. You've changed it. It's he was Zadia5, right? And like that's by treating his stepchildren as children, by being a Zaidi to everyone's child, to all of you, right? By not caring about those boundaries, by bringing everyone into the sukkah, right? he made that so by declaring himself everyone's Zadie, right? He made himself everyone's Zadie. That's the family that he built. That's the life that he built, and he was able to accomplish that. So we've heard a little bit about the love and devotion that his family provided him in his final weeks, the care that he was given, also in the hospital by hospital staff in his final weeks, but ultimately at home. What a brave choice, and what a compassionate choice to bring him home for his final days, and just devoted yourself just so tremendously to him that he was able to be at comfort and surrounded by people he loved, and being told how much he meant to all of you. And he doesn't need anything else anymore. The only thing that remains is for him to be returned to the earth from which we all came. Jewish tradition considers the act of burial to be a chesed shel emet, the truest form of kindness that we can do for another person, because it's an act of kindness that we know will never be repaid. But this is something that we do with a lot of love, because and a lot of sense of honor that we have this privilege, that having cared for him so thoroughly and so well, and with such love and devotion for 25 years of marriage, and for all the years that you all knew him, for a lifetime as a brother, so much love and devotion and care and concern, that he doesn't need anything anymore. He's in Shemayim, he's with God now, he's with his mother, with the Tootsie Rolls, and with his grandparents, and the only thing he needs is for us to, with our own hands, lovingly return him to his resting place. And so in just a moment, we're going to begin the burial. The way burial takes place is when we each have a turn to shovel earth into the grave. The first shovelful of dirt, we use the back of the shovel, and that's a way to indicate reluctance, that we're sad to take part in this act. And we also don't hand the shovel directly from one person to the next, again, to show our reluctance to take part in this act. But ultimately, it's a tremendous privilege, a tremendous chesed shel emet, the truest form of kindness, and it's a great honor that we're going to be able to return him to his final resting place. Those of us who knew him, those of us who loved him, and those of us who love his family. And so we'll do that now. First, though, we're going to, inside the vault, we're going to put a handful of dirt from Jerusalem, and then we'll ask the cemetery employees to lower the top of the vault, and then we'll begin to shovel and fill in the rest of the grave. So the mourners will come forward to do this together, just carefully. Yeah.
You can do the earth. They're all going to do the earth.
Yeah. And then they can come. They come forward. They all come together. And you might move away. You can all maybe all come together, and you can do it together. It's not very much. We're going to wait for the workers to put the vault on top, and then we'll complete the burial ourselves. everyone is invited to take part in the burial. You take the shovels from here. Come forward. I have two lines, one from this side and one from this side. First shovel to the back. And shovel eventually regularly. Then we're done. Hands to hands. going to recite Psalm 16, which is traditionally recited at funerals and burials on days like this one, which are at a otherwise happy time of the Jewish calendar. Michtam David, Shemreini El, ki siti bach, amart ladonai Adonai ata tovati ba'alecha, v'lekedoshim asher ba'aretz chema, v'adirei kol chavtzevam, yuvu atzvotam achar maharu, balasich niskehem midam, ubalasa et shemotam, al sefata Adonai manat chalki v'chosi ata tomich gorali. Chavalim naflu li bad ne'imim, af nachalat shafra alai. Avarech Adonai asher yatzani, af leilot yisruni chlilotai. Shavit Adonai lenegdi tamir, kimimini va'alemod, lechem samach libi v'yagel kavodi. Af bisari yishkol meveta, kilot tazav nafshi lishol. Lo titen chasidecha lirot shachat hodieni orech chayim, sova smachot, et panecha ni'imot b'mincha netzach. Guard me, God, for in you I have taken refuge. You have said to the Lord, you are my Lord, I have no good beyond you. As for the holy ones who are in the earth, and the mighty, in whom is all my desire, their sorrows will multiply. Those that run to other gods, their blood libations will I not pour out, nor take their names upon my lips. The Lord is my allotted portion and my share. You sustain my fate. Portions have fallen to me in pleasant places. Lovely indeed is my estate. I will bless the Lord, who has given me counsel. My conscience admonishes me at night. I have set the Lord before me always. Because God is at my right hand, I shall not falter. Therefore my heart rejoices and my entire being exults. Also my body will rest secure. For you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let your devout ones see destruction. You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. There is delight at your right hand for eternity. And that's where Barry is now. The delight at God's right hand, even as he lies in his eternal resting place. It's not with desolation, it's not with despair, it's in joy in being in God's presence. The mourners are invited at this time to rise to recite Mourner's Kaddish. It's printed in the bulletins. I can recite it with you. Yitzchazal v'yitzchadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ya'alma tivrach yirutei v'yamlich ma'afutei v'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael. Amen.
Amen. Shmei Rabba Mebrach Ve'Lama Lamei Maya.
Yivarach Yishtabach Yifa'ar Yitramam Yitnaseh Yitadar Yitaleb Yitalal Shmei Yishab
Brachu.
Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Daniran Bi'alma V'Meru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shlava Rabba Nushamaya V'chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Meru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom Ben Ramav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Meru. Amen. At this point we transition from our loving devotion to Barry to our care and concern for the mourners, who it is our responsibility to comfort and to support. And that occupies our focus now for the coming days. We're going to form two lines between the gravesite and where the cars are parked, and the mourners are going to walk between us from the gravesite back towards their cars, and we at that point will have the opportunity to offer our first condolences to them in the traditional formula which I recite. But can you form two lines, please, and then the mourners can stay here for them.
Everyone other than the mourners, if you could please come and form two lines. I'd actually like to do it here. I don't like the looks of this stone.
Yeah.
Let's kind of do it in this direction. Please be very careful of any leaning stones. Can I ask you to come over here, please? There you go. And then another line right over here.
Any other friends of the family members who are not mourners, please come forward.
And if you'd like to say goodbye to the people that are here, we've had about 10 devices on. You just want to thank the people that are here.
Thank you, everyone.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on.
Technology.
There you go.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us and honoring Barry today.